As we all know, Aberration will be launching tomorrow. Actually, today, as of this recording. No, I won't be giving money to Studio Wildcard. I was offered 2 keys for product review and product placement. I turned them down. One of them was from G2A. That's just an on principle turn down, and the other one came from some group I had never heard of. I wasn't really interested in it. 1, I didn't know if they were legitimate keys. 2, I didn't want to risk it. I don't want to give Studio Wildcard any more airtime. I don't want to give Studio Wildcard the time of day. I don't want to give them anything because they refuse to give the players something. They refuse to give the players something known as basic decency. What do I mean by that? We all know that the game suffers from a lot of issues. Undermesh rating is still pretty much the norm on official servers. The duping issue still remains. In fact, Spartans, arguably one of the top rating alliances or rating clans on official servers, ended up leaving last week. And they told us exactly why. That the problems with official had just been compounded after release. Customer service not really caring, not giving anybody really the time of day. They didn't offer any support. It was buy our product. Nothing but rehashed, preformed messages from what I think is an overtaxed customer support team. There are a lot of issues still plaguing the game. A lot. Now, obviously, I'm not going to place all the blame on customer support. They are not part of the development team itself. In order to do that, I have to go to the developers. The developers who fail to take care of basic issues, such as the mesh being 100% connected, so something like undermesh rating can't happen. Developers who would rather insult the players than address the issues that they bring up. The constant Monday morning threads, the auto-moderated threads on Reddit asking for a list of bugs that continue to have the exact same bugs week after week after week. And why is this? Because the developers don't know how to fix anything. In alpha, I was among the group saying that the foundation was crumbling, the foundation needed to be fixed. Studio Wildcard's response, and indeed the responses of their late nights, was this is alpha. You don't fix stuff in alpha, you add content in alpha. There's actually some validity to that, absolutely. At the same time, the development team is usually making sure that the very foundation of the game is still good after each checkpoint. Unfortunately, there was no QC team during early access. That fell on the players. We paid to be the quality control team for Studio Wildcard. They didn't hire anyone. They claimed that they had very, very good internal testing that never caught anything. How good is your internal testing teams if they're not catching something as basic as babies not being claimable when the patch goes live? This seems like something you might want to think about. But ignore all that. We were told that in beta, everything would be fixed. There was no beta phase. In fact, they delayed the game for 3 weeks. No beta phase. The same optimization promises made for 6 months continue to be made to this day. The True Sky crash still has yet to be fixed. The memory leaks still have yet to be fixed. The graphics improvements have never happened. In fact, when the rendering was locked to low, it was radio silence from Studio Wildcard. People were constantly said that this was not a graphics optimization. And the right hand, one of the PR guys for Studio Wildcard, he decided to take it out on the players, saying that I know it's easier to make threads about how bad we are, but how about you actually help us out? We helped you out for 2 years. We warned you about issues in the coding, about issues in gameplay, about balance. All of it thrown out the window. Why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be? You looked at the players as cheap unpaid labor, labor that actually paid you. That's not heard of in any other really genre, any other career. The customer doesn't pay you to be your quality control. You have to have internal standards that were never met. Your deadlines, they continued to be ignored. They were never met. To this day, you still fail to meet your own deadlines. This isn't players placing these deadlines on you. This is you. You are the ones putting the deadlines on yourself and then never meeting one of them. Your mouthpieces, either radio silent during issues or making promises that'll never be kept. And that's mainly an issue with Jeremy. Jeremy, he's got a big mouth. It's just like Robert's Space Industries, the makers of Star Citizen. Makers. Lots of feature creep, lots of promises of stuff that, well, never comes to pass. Why is that? Because he can't. You guys can't. You told us at the beginning of this entire thing that you were all, each and every one of you, former developers on AAA titles. Each and every one of you. Maybe not each and every one of you. Maybe it was the majority of you. What matters is you told us that you had AAA experience. You know what? Considering what AAA games look like now, maybe it's true. Maybe it's absolutely true. But I won't buy Aberration. I won't stream Aberration. I won't do it. I won't throw good money at a bad product. And that's what it comes down to. The game's post-release. The same issues that 2 years ago were plaguing it still remain. Undermesh rating once again. Duping once again. Always a band-aid fix, never a fix of the root problem. Why? Why haven't you fixed this? A week ago, during the height of the heavy turret debacle, Jat finally posted saying that you were paying attention to the feedback for the heavy turret, which, by the way, is an absolute piece of crap. And once it goes live, because you probably won't properly test it, you probably won't be able to fix it, it will mean that official servers effectively die in PvP. But Jat said you guys were paying attention to the feedback. But literally everybody was working on Aberration. Why? Why were they all working on Aberration? The game should have been done by then. You said it was going to come out in October, and then some small issues showed up during development that required it to be pushed back 2 months. But each of your developers had to be moved over to Aberration a week before it's supposed to debut. See, this is what we've come to expect from you. Lots of promises, lots of hula. Nothing actually delivered. How sad is that? That a company that had such promise at the beginning of early access is now a laughingstock. You refuse to hire more developers to take care of issues. You refuse to hire a quality control team. Sure, the job postings are up there on the site, but when did you actually hire anybody? You haven't. Your PR continues to be an absolute shit show. We actually had Jen come onto the forum saying, hey, we're looking for a master list of bugs, showing that you don't even pay attention to the fucking Monday threads. The thread that goes up every Monday, you don't pay attention to it. But you want us to take you seriously. Who did you have streaming early access of the game? Top streamers. Rather well-known streamers. Who had access to that? The top streamers. Who didn't have access? The content creators that actually got you to where you are. The modders, who really should have been the ones you talked to. I'm not talking about content creators like me. I'm not giving you any positive feedback. I'm critical. I'm fair. I am critical. I'm not the kind of person who's going to be like, oh, key and there I go. I'm good. I'll toe the party line. I'm not going to. when you mess up, I'm going to call you on it. And it's been nothing but screw up after screw up after screw up. And the players are the ones at the end of the day that have to suck it up. How is that fair to any of us? I've constantly leveled incompetence and greed at you all. Greed because of your decisions to charge $60 for a game not worth $30. Taking the season pass and instead of putting it on DLC that was slated to come out, you tied it into a DLC that had already come out a year ago that is still buggy to this day, so that they couldn't refund it. And a genius play, don't get me wrong. But a shitty one at that. Incompetent. Because your very foundation of this debut game is such a shit show that there's no saving it. That modders actually have to go through everything and fix it. And they can't fix everything. But you want to sit here and you want to tell the players that your game is worth $60, that the season pass is worth it. I know people who aren't buying it because they're not buying your bullshit. I know people who aren't buying Aberration because they came to play with dinosaurs. They came to ride dinosaurs and to tame them. Not to play with some sci-fi rejects. Nobody gives a shit about that. It's something new. And you're trying to play like World of Warcraft did for the cyclical players that will come in, buy your product, and after a week or two, just stop playing it. That's what you're doing. Greed. Because Jesse Rapchick saying you're talking about a sequel to a game. A sequel. Your CEO saying that you will definitely consider early access for games in the future. And why? Because it, quote, allows the hardcore players to feel important, unquote. When in reality, it's so that you can have another excuse to not have a quality control team. Those who aren't trolls, those who aren't blindly following you because they're 13 and 14-year-olds, we're looking at you and we're calling you out on all of this. And you go radio silent, as you normally do. As you normally do when there's some kind of controversy. We expect nothing less. If you want people to buy your games in the future, you need to change the perspective of your company. See, EA hasn't done that. Ubisoft hasn't done that. They don't have to, though, because they have that rabid fan base of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, who will buy their crap. You don't have that luxury. And you had one chance for a first impression and you blew it for the vast majority of people. You paid for reviews. We know this. The reviews don't mention any of the actual issues, such as the graphics, sound issues, memory leaks. They talk about the positives, which really aren't reviews. Reviews should cover everything, not just the gameplay, but the technical aspects as well. I know. I used to do them. You want us to buy your stuff in the future? Then you need to change, not anybody else. And when you do that, and you show that you actually care about the players and you care about the game, maybe I'll start throwing money your way, as will thousands, if not millions of others, because a quality game is better than quantity of game.